Welcome to Corner Class Tampa. And today we have a little bit of a different show. The numbers are in, and believe it or not, it's no shock to us that white America is doing better than black and brown America. But is there something that we can really do about it? It's more than just the numbers, guys. It's the way of life. It's our mindset. It is very important that this show will help you identify ways that you can shrink that wealth gap. You can shrink the distance between the have and have nots. So if you're interested in shrinking your wealth gap, doing something about these numbers that we're going to discuss today, this is the show for you. All right, and we're back. I'm David Carmena. I'm your host for Corner Class Tampa, and the numbers are in. CNN had a great presentation yesterday that basically covered what we all knew in the black and brown community, that there are haves and there are have-nots. There are people that are doing much better than us, than their counterpart in the black and brown community. These numbers, while we're going to go over and discuss it, I want you to think about not only that there is an inequality, and you can see, these numbers are 2019, so you can see from the 2019 numbers what the inequality are, but what I want you to do is think about opportunities, ways that we can shrink this gap, the wealth gap, ways that we can identify several different. I'm going to give three different scenarios, three different examples of how we, the average investor, can shrink the wealth gap and approach a more equitable situation for us and our family. So let's go right into it. Again, these numbers were presented by CNN yesterday. It was from a 2019 survey, and basically it is what it is, guys. So let's go right into it. Median income, according to CNN, in the survey yesterday, it was presented yesterday. It was reported that the median income for whites are $188,200, and blacks only $24,000, $24,100 median income. That's pretty shocking. Is that you have more than $120,000 difference between whites and blacks. It's something that's probably the most drastic income. And we're going to talk about, I'm sorry, I said income, but I meant net worth. So we're going to talk about the net worth piece. That's something that we really need to address, and we are going to address in this particular corner class. 2, the income per household. Whites, 76,000 and some change. Blacks, 45,000 and some change. I want to go back to this. Net worth, whites, 188,000. Blacks, 24,000. But look at what we take home as opposed to our net worth. Whites take home 76,000. We take home 45,000. Black and brown. I'm talking about the black and brown community. It was reported black, but I'm throwing in brown because our Spanish, Latino people are feeling our pain also. I want to point this out one more time because this is the crux of it, guys, is that white America, net worth 188,000, but only take home a slight, a little bit more than what we take home. 31,000 more per year is their median income, but their net worth is many times more. For us, 24,000, but we're taking home 45,000. What that means in a nutshell, guys, is that for the Black and brown community at large, we're not using our money as efficiently as our white male and female counterparts. That's basically it. Let's go and look at our unemployment rate. Whites 5.3%, blacks 9.7%, and to be honest, which is probably a lot larger than that. So we are not as employed as our white counterpart, and not only are they more employed, but then again, going back to how much money they make per household, 76,000 and some change versus 45,000 and some change. Okay. Poverty rate, and this is heartbreaking to me, and quite frankly, this is one of the reasons why I spend so much time and energy in the corner class, is that the poverty rate probably for blacks is even higher than this. But let's go over what's been reported. Whites 7.3%, blacks 18.8%, more than double. And so it really doesn't have to be this way. It really, really doesn't. And I think that if we go back to our first 2 points here, net worth 188,000 and some change versus 24,000 and some change. Okay, a lot of that is in real estate, in home ownership. We are Black and brown, are a culture of renters, and if you rent, you have no net worth. You really don't. And so it's not, while they make more money, that is true, 30,000 more and some change. But it's how you use your money. We're using our money for things that do not give us a return. The fancy this, the fancy car, the fake or real jewelry, the the rent is a lot of it. How we eat, what we buy, we're looking at using our money for a ton of items that do not give us a return on investment. While our white counterpart, they're buying houses. They're buying things that will give them a return on investment. They may be buying, jewelry that will give it a return, instead of buying something that decrease in value. They're buying Rolex watches or other items that will increase in value over time. Investing in stocks. We talked about in this show the 7 streams of income. I'm not going to get into that today, but you should have multiple streams of income, ways that you can make money while you are sleeping. So it's not necessarily how much money we're making as a community, it's how we're spending our money. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's show. How are we spending our money? I'll see you on the other side. Stop your shit. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Um, we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary to Corner Class Tampa, and in that, we're going to have some tangible examples of how this show, using the strategies that we've discussed, have made um, a significant amount of money, more than what most people make in uh, their year at a full time job. We are going to discuss how we did that in only a few months. But I'm not going to. I don't want to spoil the reveal. This is going to be a great show. Our 1 year anniversary, looking really really you know excited. I'm looking very forward to that particular show where we talk about how we are using the investment strategies uh, in the show to build wealth. One, but for this show, I'm gonna cover two strategies that will help you build your net worth. Now, we're not talking about income. Yes, you will have more income, but there's a difference between income and net worth. As I mentioned before, if you remember, I'm going to go back to this graph here because it's so powerful. If you remember, the income gap, it's not that much. It's 30,000 and some change, but the net worth gap, it's striking, striking. So we're not using our money as efficiently, as effective as we could, because our net worth, Black community, 24,000, white community, 188,000. That's crazy. So here are two strategies that you can increase your net worth. By the way, guys, um, net worth, a lot of people, when they are determining your net worth, is how much you own or owe versus how much you have. Okay, so how much you have in the bank is only one component of your net worth. For instance, if you have a home that is worth $200,000 and you bought it, 10 years ago, and you only owe the bank $100,000, and you have 20,000. I'm using easy math, round numbers, guys. You have 20,000 liquid in the bank. Okay. Well, you have 5,000 liquid in the bank. Your net worth is 105,000. The equity that you have in your home, plus what you have in the bank. Okay. Second scenario, you rent. You don't own the property, but you have 50,000 in the bank. Let's say you've saved that and you have 50,000 in the bank. Your net worth is only 50,000. Of course, if you own your a business or something, you have evaluation of that and that type of thing, and maybe one show we'll go into evaluating your business so you can see your real your true net worth. But for this scenario, let's assume that you are employed, you make a little bit over the median income, which is 45,000 some change. Let's say you're making 50,000 in the bank, 50,000, and you're able to save all 1 year's worth um, of income. Your net worth is only 50,000. Yet the person, your counterpart who owns a home and only have 5,000 liquid in the bank, is 105,000 net worth because of the equity that they have in their home. Now, here's the reason why there's a problem with that, is that if you own your home, if you own real estate, if you own something like that, then you can refinance it. You can use that to leverage that with the equity in your home to do other things. You can pull out equity that's in your home. You can experience tax benefits from home ownership. Those type of things are what you can do with the equity that's in your home with home ownership. And remember, your net worth is double that of the person who's $50,000 liquid. You $50,000 liquid, you just have $50,000. And let me also go back to home ownership. From a lending standpoint, you will qualify for better lending, credit cards, mortgages, because let's assume that you paid your mortgage over time. Or if you were a little late, you call in and say, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be a little late this month, but I'll catch up with you next month." Or the third scenario, "Hey, listen, things happen beyond my control. Let's renegotiate. Let's refigure this mortgage so that it works for me." All of those, if you do all of those scenarios, your mortgage company more likely will report you as being on time, and you are paying as agreed. And so your FICO score will be a lot will not be affected in most cases, and in general, because you're paying over time, over a length of time, and you are paying timely, because you renegotiated that, and you have equity in your house. You're more likely to have a higher credit score than someone with just some cash in the bank. You got to think about the big picture. You got to think about not only how you are affected now, but 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. If you're renting, if you have nothing, no investments, no anything, but you have a decent job and you're making $50,000 a year, which is above the median income, but you content to rent, or you content to not invest, you just have some money in the bank that's liquid, you actually are from a banking viewpoint, you are not as solid as this person that has, again, bought this house, $200,000 house. That's not a mansion by no means. Paying their mortgage on time, over time, demonstrating that they are successfully repaying the mortgage on time, as I mentioned, and over time, you're reducing your amount that you owe the bank and building equity. Not only are you building equity through the reduction of mortgage, but again, over time, your house value is going up. We are currently in a crazy, seller's market. So you probably have, some hyper growth with the value of your home. If you've done an estimate on it lately, you probably will experience that. And now you're in even a better position. So it grows, and it all grows from the decisions that you make now. What you do now will determine where you're going to be in 5 years. And I know it seemed like I'm preaching, but it was just disturbing to me that there's such a gap in wealth, in net worth. You're it's just striking. So here's what we're going to do. Let's talk about what we can do about it. We know there's a problem. We know that there are there are situations that are not to our advantage. We've talked about on the show lending practices, and I didn't cover a lot of with respect to redlining and blockbusting and all those other things that are illegal and should not affect us. But in the reality is that we live in an imperfect world, and there are things that situations that are stacked against us. But I don't want to even discuss that, guys. I want to talk about solutions, what we can do right now that can help with the wealth gap, what we can do to shrink the wealth gap as a black and brown individual. First thing, buy and hold. What that means, guys, is that we're buying properties with our exit strategy being we're holding that property, we're renting that property out. Now, buy and hold is a great technique to build wealth because you own the real estate, you own the property. Yet another individual is renting from you, paying down that mortgage. Yet you still are experiencing the increase in equity, whether that equity is through the paying down of the mortgage or the increase of the value of your home. Okay, so here's the scenario. You find a home that is in a rentable community, working class rentable community. Now that's the key, guys, is that when you have a buy and hold strategy, you got to be able to rent the property. So if you're buying in an area where you cannot rent the property, this is not the strategy for you. This is not the strategy for you. Now you can buy in emerging areas. Emerging areas mean just outside the hood. You can buy there. Um, you can, but you have to be able to rent that property. If you can't rent that property, you're stuck. You're stuck. Um, we try to help here at Corner Class Tampa. So later on, we'll put up, if you get stuck on a deal, how we can come in and help you with that deal, and see if we can work out some type of win-win situation. But buy and hold is one of the best ways of building uh, building wealth because you own the property. You're building your net worth because you own that property and you don't intend to sell it. You just want that property to be your ATM, your little bank. Now, how do you get the property? Well, uh, we've had classes, and you can go back to other shows where we had Rodney, our man in the field, drive in areas and look at opportunities for rehab. Well, that same technique can be used for buying and holding a property. You're driving the area, you are looking for an opportunity to buy something that is you can rehab, increasing the value of the home, but then also you're buying it low enough to where your mortgage is low that when you rent it, you're renting beyond the price of your mortgage so that you are making a little profit from it outside of expenses. That's called rent rolling. I'm gonna give you a scenario. You buy you're driving the for dollars, you're driving your farm area, you see a home, nice little 3 bedroom, 1.5 2 bath home. You don't want to buy something super big because the utility costs and other things, the cost of ownership, a rentalship for the potential renter. You don't want that to be crazy. You're not going to keep a renter if they have a $500-600 utility bill every month. So if you think about, well, I'll buy this grand single family home for one person, one family, and you negotiate rent, and then they're hit with a 500-600 or more utility bill, electrical, water, because there's no installation in the house or whatever other reason. You're not going to keep a renter. So again, you're buying something that someone can live in, that is nice, clean, whether you buy it that way or you repair it in that way, but not too big, not too small, that works for them. Okay. Ideally, what that means is in some areas it's kind of trendy and kind of swag. There may be a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. But in some of the other areas, then it may be a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and you want to read the neighborhood. If you're buying in a neighborhood where 2 bedroom and 2 baths, you see a lot of them. They're plentiful. You looked at your neighborhood, and there's a cute little 2 bedroom bungalow down the street, and then maybe a couple streets over, and there are 2 bedrooms in there. Then okay. If not, if you're in an area where all you see is a cookie cutter single family home, 3 bedroom, 2 baths, you probably want to buy a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. So you kind of, again, you're reading your neighborhood. All right, so you find that you're buying a distressed property still. As I mentioned before, you make your money and you buy. So you're still buying distressed property. You identify that the area, and if you need comps on rental, what is a good rent rate, you can go to my company, Paynite Property Management. We'll do it for free. We'll do the rental evaluation for free to you. Just give it to you, and it'd be a resource for you that you can identify how much you can rent the property for. Okay, so you know what that number is. Let's say easy math. That number is 3 bedroom, 2 bath, $1,500 a month. Okay, easy math. And then you know what your purchase price is, or you can negotiate the purchase price with the seller, and you're going to get a mortgage on that. Let's assume that your mortgage is $800 a month, and you're going to escrow $200 for future repair. So you're renting for $1,000 a month, and you're making $1,500 a month from a potential renter. Okay, I'm sorry. You are owe the bank $1,000 a month from your mortgage, and then you're renting the property for $1,500 a month. So you have a $500 a month gap. You've already set aside your money for repairs. Remember, I mentioned that your mortgage is $800, and then you're adding $200 that for repairs, because there will be repairs, guys. When you rent, you're going to have tenants that move out, so you're going to have some vacancy. And usually, when you are renting, when the tenants move out, you take that opportunity to spruce up the place a little bit. You add new paint, carpet, maybe some ceiling fans or whatever, so that you can rent it to the next guy. A lot of that money comes from there. If the tenant damaged the property, a lot of that money will come from their security deposit, and always require a security deposit from the tenant. A lot of it comes from that to bring the property back up to when they rented the property. But then also, as an owner, you might want to do a little bit extra when the tenant moves out. Sometime when you're renting the property and the tenant renewed the lease, they may want you to do some things to renew the lease, and it's always probably a good idea to do it. Most requests are cleaning the carpet, maybe new lighting, something like that. Maybe the refrigerator's old, put a new refrigerator in there, that type of thing. And it's always better to keep a tenant than find a new tenant, and because the acquisition cost for a new tenant, which there is can be a little cost prohibitive. So if you have a tenant and the tenant is happy, wants to stay, wants to renew, and wants you to clean the carpet, just go ahead and do it. Go ahead and clean the carpet, guys. The key is that, one, the tenant is paying your mortgage. Two, your rent rolling somewhere around the $500, and I would suggest that you don't use it. You use that for your next acquisition, and then also you are increasing the value of your property by reducing your mortgage, what you owe the bank, and then most likely than not, your home amount, your escrow. I'm sorry, your the value of your home will increase over time, so that you have more money in your home. Now, here's what you can do with that. Remember, I mentioned that $500 that you're making. You save up that money, and then over time, let's say a year, a couple of years, or maybe even less, you use that for a down payment of your other home. So you have two things that you can go to the lender with that you didn't have by buying your first home. One is that you have a home that's rent rolling, and your lender will can use that money to that you're making from the tenant to help with your debt to income ratio for the other property. That's one. And two, you build equity in your home, and you can refinance out of that equity if you choose to, or you can get a line of credit from the equity. There's a lot of things that you can do with the equity that's in your home, but you can use the home that you are renting, that you purchase and are renting, to buy the next home. Okay, you do the same thing, same scenario, and now you're making another $500 clear. You rent rolling another 500 together. You're making $1,000 for two homes that you are not. You're just renting out. Okay, and you're building equity in that home. Okay, so now you go to after a year, a couple of years, you go to Mr. Mortgage guy and say, hey, listen, I want to buy another investment property. Uh, Same kind of scenario. And your third one, you are making $500, so you got $1,500 across the three. Now, here's what's nice about it is that once you start getting multiple properties, let's say three properties, then you can get a portfolio loan. And you can go to Mr. Bank and say, hey, listen, I'm making this amount of cash, disposable cash. I bring in this income from all three, and my value across my portfolio is this. That puts you in a much stronger position with a lender than if you just had one home, because now they can give you what's called a portfolio loan, that is across your entire portfolio, and you can use that money to buy other stuff. Circling back, you own the property. And if you remember about the net worth, is that I mentioned from the very beginning that part of the net worth, your net worth, is real estate value. So you have a home that you purchased for 200,000. You have another home that you purchased for 200,000. Another home that you purchased for 300,000 or 200,000. So you have $600,000 in real estate that you purchased. I'm assuming that you have your own home that you're living in. So you have the three income properties for plus the property that you own, that you are currently living in. So you have four doors. Okay. But 300,000 investment, and then three homes have 200,000 that you owe 100,000. So that's 300,000. So where I'm getting a $300,000 number, and then you have a home that you're living in. Okay, so I want to mention something about the home that you're living in. The home that you're living in can be an investment property. If you decide that one of those properties that you want to trade up, and one of the properties that you're building your portfolio home is your old home that you purchased, then you can then again the home that you bought, instead of it being an investment property, it could be your home, and then you can rent out the one that you're vacating. So there's many ways that you can do this, but the key is that through real estate you have increased your net worth, because you own these properties that other people are paying for your rental, and that you are paying down the mortgage that other people are paying, and the value of the properties increase. That is the quick and easiest way to increase your net worth and increase your household income, because each one of these, if you're rent rolling your property, each one of these properties are part of your LLC. Hopefully you put it in the LLC, and that LLC is reporting taxes to you, is paying you. Now, again, For the first 5 years, if you don't need the money, I recommend that you don't use the money, because you want to reinvest that money into your property. You want to use that money for the next acquisition. And that's the key, guys, is being disciplined, is not using money. I have friends that, they started out great. They bought a property, it was rent rolling. They bought a second property, it was rent rolling. And then all of a sudden, they didn't get to the third property. They Other things came in, and life happens, and I get that. And then they sold their property for to uh, help them with the current dream or the current need. Well, that's another way that advantage of using real estate, is that you are in a position that you can do that. If you need to be liquid for whatever reason, um, while liquidity is will take you a little bit of time, it's not like you can just pull money out of a bank when you're pulling money out of the home. But there are multiple ways that you can pull money out of the home. We mentioned one: you can refinance that home. So when you refinance, they're going to give you a percentage of what the home is worth today, not what you paid for. So if you built equity into your home, you can refinance out of equity. Two, you can get a HELOC, which is um, again, it is a little bit different than refinancing the home where you're pulling money out. It's more like home equity. HELOC stands for home equity line of credit. It's more like a line of credit where they give you, if you have $100,000 equity in the home, then they will give you a percentage of that after they do the evaluation of the home, and you set up the loan. You would then be able to use that line of credit just like any other bank line of credit. Is some banks, they give you checks where you can just write a check on your line of credit. Other banks, you just call your your uh, your banking professional and say, hey, listen, I want to use X amount of my line of credit. Some banks, they actually give you a credit card, a bank credit card or a debit card that is tied to your line of credit, and then you can use it that way. So there's HELOC, many ways that you can do the HELOC depending on your lending institution. And then you can sell the house outright. You have a home that you purchased 10 years ago, and you have a mortgage that you have been paying down over 10 through a renter, and now you owe the bank 80,000, let's say, and you are selling the house for 240,000, 280, easy math. You sell it with your real estate professional, you've made that money, you've used that money. So uh, if you do any of these things, remember now, if you sell the home, you are reducing your net worth. Yes, you're becoming more liquid, but then you lost that real estate. If you do the other two, which is refinancing or home equity line of credit, your net worth is still going to be there. You still own the property, and so while you will take a hit because you owe the bank more, you're still rent rolling the property. You're still getting a rental from that property, and you are still owners of that property. That is how you can shrink the wealth gap. It's super easy, guys. And so when you get all these guys that, oh, our white counterpart, their median net worth is, so much more than the black and brown community. Oh, and they make, white counterpart, they make so much more money than, it's not about that. It really isn't. What it's about is, how are you using the resources that you have? How are you using this $45,000? You investing in something? Are you buying stock? Are you buying, something that increases in value? Are you buying real estate? Or are you buying, expensive vacations? or you know, a car that lose half its value as soon as you drive it off the car lot. What are you using your money for? What are you using your money for? That is where we need to be. That is how we increase our net worth, not begging the government or, you know, oh, woe is me, and oh, I'm such at a disadvantage. No, do something about it. Do something about it. And if you don't have a last note, if you don't have the money to buy your first income property, team up. Get two, three, four, the fellows. You put in 10, the other guy put in 10, the other guy put in 10, last guy put in 10. Now you got $40,000. You got enough money to buy your property. There's no excuses. It's your responsibility to shrink the wealth gap, not expecting a handout. Use the techniques that we talked about in the class. If you have a question, call me. If you get stuck, call me. Call my company. Someone will be here to answer the call, and hopefully we can help. If we can't help, we'll direct you to a person that can help. But it's our responsibility to shrink the wealth gap, not the government's. It's up to you and your family. You owe it to you and your family to use your resources wisely. Stay grinding.